The following video has been created without the use of AI. Please support your human content creators by liking the video and commenting something down below. Subscribing is optional. Now please, enjoy the show.
Melinda? Melinda?
The silence was deafening.
Oh gosh.
The prison complex was eerily silent, which was always a bad omen, as it meant three things, each worse than the last. Everyone was dead, everyone was fed, but the prototype had showed up. It had happened about 2 hours ago, when the toys in Safe Haven noticed the absence of you. You were a Melinda Birch toy, based on a popular children's show called Crawlies. It was a semi-educational cartoon show about insects. The gimmick: every episode the children of the series would become insect-human hybrids to explore the world of bugs. While the show was educational and entertaining with its adventures, it was highly criticized for parents, being gruesome, calling the transformations of the children as borderline Cronenberg-style body horror, which also manifested in a way on your own body. While you had a basic human shape, you had 4 useless chitinous appendages protruding beneath your arms and hips, as well as 4 additional eyes, which 2 didn't work and were purely aesthetic. You had lavender-colored plastic skin with dark purple hair. Your teeth had been sharpened and elongated, and your lower jaw could split in half to allow for bigger chunks to be eaten, as well as giving you the ability to spew your own digestive fluids unhindered. But as grotesque as you found your new spider-like body, to the others were just another toy. It was thanks to your advanced age before turning that you and Doey took on a semi-parental role for the toys in Safe Haven. You often refused rations, wanting others to have what you would have gotten. A noble sacrifice, indeed. And the fact no one realized you had been gone for so long laid heavily on everyone. Because of that, some were thinking you had gone feral. After all, you were on the older side when you were turned into a toy. Others felt as if you bailed because things got too difficult. Either way, you needed to be found. And the dead silence was not reassuring to Doey. He purposefully avoided the vents, trying to be as visible as possible, while the 3 men in his head berated each other. Kevin, the unruly of the 3, wanted to leave you behind. Protecting the whole of Safe Haven was more important than one meager life. And he had a point. After all, Safe Haven, while he was looking for you, was needlessly in danger. But he was overruled by the other 2. Matthew liked you, genuinely. And while he hid his true feelings from the others, he managed to create a convincing argument without outright saying that he put your safety a little higher than the others. And Jack, you were just simply convinced by Matthew. Your eyes flickered. Eyelids as heavy as the rest of your body. You uncomfortably were pushed against the wall, forcing your head upright while the rest lied flat on the floor. By now the pain had been reduced to a numb pounding as you listened to the stomach-turning, squishy noises of teeth biting into raw, bloody flesh. A red streak of blood ran down your lips, while greedy hands attempted to tear deeper into your body. Sadistic, they had started with your legs and had worked their way up to your hips. Your body shook as they pulled, as they tore, as they gnashed their teeth into your flesh and bone. You'd vomit from the sounds alone, if you could, but your stomach was already emptied. Fingers digging their way through muscles, sinew, and blood. Warm life pouring out of your body. Your breaths were shallow now, and you felt cold and alone. Your only companion, the disgusting gnashing of wet flesh, and the toy hunched over you, feasting on your meats. But just as your mind began slipping into the void, you caught a glimpse of something. Someone. A flash of yellow and blue. And for a moment, color returned to your eyes, sadly as you became more aware, and hope began pumping through your veins again. The indescribable pain of being eaten alive returned as well. And as weak as you were, a gurgled scream escaped you. For a moment, the feral toy stopped eating, raising its head, black beady eyes staring at your face, but just as it took a step forward to silence your cries once and for all, its decapitated torso fell forward, slapping unceremoniously on the blood-covered floor. And you managed to smile before your eyes rolled upwards and you slipped into blissful unconsciousness, seeing Doey the dough man with the predator's head in his mouth before closing your eyes. Doey, meanwhile, quickly dropped his heavy slime body next to you.
Oh dear,
He tapped his fingers together.
Melinda, are you alive?
He grabbed your shoulders, shaking you.
Oh dear.
Not thinking rationally, he began grabbing the various broken pieces of you, putting them back inside your body, as if that would hopefully bring you back to life. While Matthew was wrestling for control of the Doeman's thought processes. Jack had unintentionally taken over, and his fear and sadness were overpowering his rationality. Crying, Doey poked your face, until suddenly a black, slimy arm shot out of the Doeman's mouth. It was Matthew's, a desperate attempt at taking control. The hand made an okay sign, before gently brushing over Doey's cheek. Moments later, he was back in control. Doey sighed.
Okay. This is worth a try.
With a terrible feeling in his gut, he grabbed your shoulders.
Now, Melinda, when you wake up, don't struggle, please.
Doey stepped onto your seemingly lifeless body before lowering his massive gut onto you. The dough of his body engulfed you, pulling you into him. The process was slow and took 10 minutes. He needed to be careful after all. If his body saw yours as food, you'd be digested without him intending it. But if his body saw you as a foreign object rather than something edible, he could manipulate you. Slowly he stood up, hands on his inflated tummy.
Careful now,
he muttered to himself. Rubbing his stomach, he slowly began walking. He could taste your flesh and blood, and he knew that even a split second of weakness could cause his body to digest you. His stomach gurgled as his dough began shifting, your mangled form within him. There were multiple kinds of chemical liquids inside his malleable body. A viscous and quite potent acid that digested food in minutes. His regular clay-like dough that could harden and soften on demand. But most importantly, an almost translucent slime that functioned as his blood. It was this liquid he was now forcing into your body, while his clay attempted to hold your body together. He gurgled loudly. Your hand had accidentally brushed over the bubble that contained his acid.
I almost out you there. Don't do that again, please.
You regained a semi-conscious state while still inside the doorman. You could feel his cool clay embrace your entire being. The pain you felt was manageable only by the fact that you couldn't see anything. It was dark and moist, and you were completely unable to move. You couldn't even open your eyes as the pressure of the doorman's body prevented you from doing so. You weren't sure where you were, but the fact you were alive, it made you feel safe. Vaguely, you felt the doorman's movements as he made his way back to safe haven. As frightening as the situation was, however, you felt at peace. For a moment, you didn't even mind dying here. That's how pleasant it felt. Doey soon arrived home, where your body was released from his into the helping claws of the medic, a red boogiebot whose medical expertise had survived the transformation into a toy, and immediately they went to work at fixing what was destroyed. The entire operation, Doey, didn't leave your side, holding your hand as you drifted in and out of unconsciousness. Medic, however, was impressed. What was outside was now back inside. They didn't even have to work. What had been outside was back inside, while not precisely in the correct order and places. Doey had managed to carry you safe to the safe haven, rather than absorbing you into his mass. And if he didn't do that, the blood loss alone would have caused your death. Your toy body proved hardy, and you survived the ordeal. Something not many toys could claim. Though things had irreversibly changed. Your leg had been beyond salvaging, and you were obviously traumatized. You refused to speak to anyone for a very long time. You were ashamed to vocalize. And you chose to spend your time in what used to be called the pillow room. It was simply now just yours. Originally, before the hour of joy, it was used as a janitor break room. In other words, it was a small room with some cleaning utensils and a desk with a chair. Now, the vaguely of soap-smelling room was filled with various pillows and hanging lights. Of course, everyone was worried about you, which made this entire thing worse. You wished you could just be swallowed up by the floor and be forgotten. That was until the day Doey came to visit. He didn't speak at first, only sitting down next to you, twiddling with his thumbs.
It's been a few, huh?
He said eventually. He smiled gently.
I'm sorry.
You tilted your head, confused.
If I had found you a few minutes sooner, maybe we could have,
You raised your right hand to shut him up, before rolling on your side, away from him. It was your fault you ended up like this. Doey exhaled. I want you to know, no one thinks you're a burden now. Yeah, right, you thought. We just aren't quite sure how to deal with you now. Especially because you push everyone away now. Do you maybe want to tell me why? Isn't that obvious? You mumbled. Hearing your voice, Doey smiled brightly, and he was partially glad you couldn't see his dumb expression right now. I'm embarrassed. I feel like trash. I am trash. It's all my fault, and I have to deal with it. Doey placed a hand on your shoulder, causing you to shiver. But as he retreated, thinking he made you upset, you placed your own on his, kicking him in place. And a moment later you sat up, looking at your left foot, and the stump where your other leg used to be. I can't sleep. I can't think. It just replays in my head. Perhaps it was time to speak about the incident. It felt right, especially with him. It was my fault, Doey. My selfishness. He tilted his head in confusion. Before I became part of Safe Haven, I had a little alcove, hidden behind a vending machine of all things. It still had food. Doey. His expression became neutral as he listened to you. The vending machine had food still in it, and I kept it, selfishly. And every time rations were given out, I said, just give me half, and let's save the rations for the toys who really need it. All I was thinking of was me getting to my stash and then be full. You crossed your arms in shame, but as you looked at Doey, he just looked really sad.
It's fair.
What? The saddest of smiles appeared on the doorman's lips.
Melinda, it is a horrible secret. I will never tell anyone about it.
His voice was heavy.
But
he looked towards the door he had closed behind himself when he had entered, imagining all the toys in Safe Haven doing their thing. Doey's hand gripped you tighter.
I want you to imagine what would happen if we threw a few chocolate bars into Safe Haven.
You looked at him.
They would surely go all feral over them. The thought of eating anything but the rations we are forced to give out. I'd rather have them be devoured in secret than have our community fall apart over some sweets. Oh, it is sad. Plus, I feel as if you've been punished enough for your sins.
He pointed at your missing leg, and you shifted uncomfortably.
And I don't want to make you feel any worse. And I don't want to remember you like this.
He stood up.
The others are missing their mommy. If you could give them that again, I would greatly appreciate that. and see it as an apology.
But just as he grabbed the doorknob, he lunged forward, grabbing his arm.
Melinda!
With big puppy eyes, he stared up at him. "Is that it?" you shouted. How are you not angry at me? You just rationalize everything away like it's nothing."
"Because I thought you were dead,"
he shouted back. Angrily, he turned around, pushing you down into pillows. Your heart jumped.
"Who cares about a few chocolate bars? I don't. I care about you. And when I held your damaged body, when I returned your insides, when I fed your body my very own blood to keep you alive, all I could think of was getting you back." I physically can't be mad at you, because I know if I had lost you, that there's something inside me would have been lost forever. I'm not mad because I'm so unbelievably glad you're still alive. And I'm begging you to please not throw this away. Come back to us.
Tearing up, all you could say was, "But why?"
"Because I love you."
Doey could feel the surprise from his other two personalities. Meanwhile, your face remained steadfast. Right. Love? Here? Your face a grimace. It hurt him. With a quiet bump, your head landed on one of the pillows. As you exhaled, breathlessly. At a joke. Have you looked in the mirror? How can we even think about something like that?
We?
You remained quiet, hoping he'd glance over it, but...
You feel something too, huh?
Of course I do. You saved my life. Protected me. All of us. And most importantly, you see us as people still. Your undying optimism, even though we have been enduring this for so long. I can think of other things that we missed out on. Loving parents, going to school, maturing like normal people, eating something other than what used to be humans, or scraps. You inhaled. But then you were cut off by Doey.
So do you want to miss out on your first love too?
Their eyes met. It almost sounded like he didn't believe his own words. But you chuckled. Medic says you used your equivalent of blood to keep me alive. You're already inside me. What else do you want?
I mean, I already did half the work, didn't I?
And then he kissed you. His lips tasting of cheap chemicals with the texture and consistency of slightly dry, unbaked bread. And leaving behind an oily residue on your lips. Your smirk was teeming with sarcasm. Placing your hand on his round belly before commenting. You know, when I was inside there, I wondered how you would taste like. You could feel his mass move beneath your fingertips. It was a pleasant feeling that made your heart beat faster. And embarrassed, Doey scratched the back of his head.
Yeah, well, if that's okay, we never do it again, okay?
Yeah, I can live with that. But he inhaled in anticipation. A strong feeling of excitement poured out of every pore in your body as he reached around his hips, pulling him on top of you. He was heavy, but not painfully so, as he spread out his mass, hugging you with the entirety of his body. And you could feel some of his mass slide beneath your shirt, spreading around your chest, tummy, and navel like a warm, lecherous blanket. In return, I want you to put even more of you inside me. Got it? Hey, you watched the video until the very end. That's very kind of you. But before I say goodbye, I have to shout out all of my lovely channel members, especially my high-ranking darling stewards, who get a members-only video every month. Join the tier for just $4.99. Anyways, we have Nicolai Hatcher, Maxi Cat, Alison Watkins, Bella Mare, Mystic Jade 111, Giovanna Moretti, Twilight Mia, Angry Boxman, Hella, Anonymous Weep, and Nicodemus D. Thank you for supporting me. Also, thank you to everybody else who is supporting me. You are keeping me alive.